Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me and all the Tibetan Buddhist Society of Canberra's various friends here and there and everyone in between. Thank you. We are here to do the teachings on Tuesday nights here on the 37 Factors of Enlightenment. Very important topic and subject. So before we do the teaching, let's do the formality of rekindling our refuge, renewing our refuge, and need to practice the four immeasurables, immeasurable loving kindness and compassion. If we do practice them, that's because we have refuge. We remember refuge in the Triple Gem. Immeasurably help us to practice loving kindness instead of hatred or aversion, or and in practice immeasurable compassion instead of aggression and violence or abuse, instead of sadness and depression, joyfulness and small things, instead of being stuck in the limbo, in the equanimity. So all these are very, very important factors to remind us to do that. These prayers are said not just for ourselves, because there are lots of people who are not quite able to do any of them. And so we must include them in our prayers and thoughts, that this may change in their lives. By the merit of us listening to the teaching and understanding Dharma, may it have such a ripple effect. I'm sure once upon a time we were the domain of someone else's prayers and practices, and that ripple effect has come to us, touched us, and we too must be very confident that our small prayers can also have such effect. So with this, we do these prayers. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sanga aitere pyeche ladama bhavache ajevendala ashare padavochoebe endabo dadama Sanga Ate refuge ladam Bhavache Ajevandala Ashare Padavochoebe Endabo Dadama Sanga Ate refuge ladam Bhavache Ajevandala Ashare Padavochoebe. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, of those never. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, of those never. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and a cause of suffering. May they know a power from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, those never. Now the Heart Sutra. Perfection of wisdom is beyond thought and expression, being unborn and unceasing. Its nature sky. I pay homage to the domain of discriminating self-awareness, the mother of victors of 3 times. Thus I have heard at one time the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha of Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of Sanga and great assembly of Bodhisattvas. At that time Blessed One was absorbed in Samadhi on the enumeration of the phenomena called the perfect illumination. Also at that time Bodhisattvas Bodhisattva Mahasattva Superior Avalokitesha was contemplating on the meaning of the profound perfection wisdom, he saw the five aggregates so empty of inherent existence. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Superior Avalokitesha, how should son or daughter of good lineage train who wishes to practice profound perfection wisdom? Thus he spoke. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva Superior Avalokitesha said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good lineage wishes to practice profound perfection wisdom should view in this way. They should correctly view those aggregates for empty of inherent existence. Form is emptiness, emptiness form, empty is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition factors, consciousness are empty. Shariputra, in the same way, all phenomena are merely empty. They are without characteristic, they are not created, they do not cease, they have no impurity, they are not devoid of impurity, they do not decrease, increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no phenomena. There is no eye element and so forth, up to mind element and up to mind element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, no exhaustion of ignorance. So there is no aging, death, and no exhaustion of aging. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation, no path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because Bodhisattvas have no attainment, they depend on and abide in the perfection of wisdom, because their mind is without obstruction, they are without fear. Having completely passed beyond all error, they go to completion nirvana. All Buddhas abide in the three times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifestly perfect Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom is mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, mantra equal to the unequal, mantra that thoroughly pacifies all sufferings. Because it is not false, it should be known as the truth. Mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tadyatha om gade gade bara gade bara sanga de buddhizo. Gade dong gade gade bara gade bara sanga de buddhizo. Dade dong gade gade bara sanga de buddhizo. Dade dong gade gade bara gade bara sanga de buddhizo. Dade dong gade 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 gade bara sanga de buddhizo. Tadyadam gade bara sanga de buddhizo. Shariputra, Bodhisattva Master should train in the profound perfection of wisdom in that way. Then the Blessed One arose from the Samadhi and said, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Superior Avalokitesha, well done, one of good lineage, just so. It is one good lineage just like that. Profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught. Even the Tathagatas will rejoice in this. The Blessed One, having so spoken, Venerable Shariputra, Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Superior Avalokitesha, and all that gathered there, and those who are gods, humans, demigods, Gandharas were filled with admiration and praised the words of the Blessed One. Is everyone okay with sound? Yeah? So you can hear, huh? You can hear okay? Yeah, some of, maybe to do with your own device. Most people have sound, good quality sound. I believe. Is that right? Good. Yeah, so please check your own devices. Sometimes small little loose connection can do that. Okay, so hopefully your sound is improving. If not, no surprise, because we were saying there is no sound. So, as you know, we have been covering the 37 conducive factors, the factors that are conducive and a necessary, indispensable part of one who has treaded on the path of enlightenment. So out of the 37 factors, we have covered the first 22. The first 22 consists of 12, first 3 lots of 4, and then 2 lots of 5. That's the 22. So you've got to know the teachings. The first 3 lots of 4s were named after close placement of mindfulness. 4 close place mindfulness. They are just like the foundation. They're just like the foundation. They sometimes call close placements translated as a foundation. There are 4 factors that are like the foundation. If you don't have a good foundation, you can't. Then we looked at the 4 right effort. These are the things you have to abandon, things you have to practice. And then we have the last 4, that is 4 legs of miracles. So they were named after the legs. So there were those 3 groups of 4 were named after foundation, effort, and legs. Yeah. Then we have 2 lots of 5. There are 5 powers, 5 strengths. They were named after power. Power means the senses, the sense organs. So we named after legs, foundation, sense organs, and then we talked about the last 5, the five strengths, which are the indomitable qualities. So those the first 22. These first 22 factors of enlightenment takes you as far as path of preparation, takes you as path of preparation. Now tonight we're going to talk about the 6th group. 6th group is called 7 limbs of enlightenment. So firstly they are called limbs because if you have comprehended the Four Noble Truths, that you have this incredible fitness as if you have the limbs. One might have everything, but if you haven't got all the limbs, you couldn't achieve enlightenment. So these are the limbs of enlightenment. The enlightenments are 3. The Shravaka's enlightenment, which is called Arhathood, and the Pratyeka Buddha's enlightenment, and the Bodhisattva's enlightenment. So all these the 7 factors of enlightenment are relatable to each of those, while the qualities and levels of their enlightenment are slightly different. But this is not the space where we discuss the distinction of the enlightenment of hearers and Pratyeka Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. But nevertheless, when we say 7 limbs of enlightenment, we are not saying the enlightenment of Arhathood are not enlightenment. Their enlightenment is also regarded as enlightenment. They are called small Buddhas. So the Buddhahood is the small Buddhahood, medium Buddhahood, and great Buddhahood. So Buddhahood is called the body. You can call the bodyhood state of enlightenment. So then when we talk about the 7 limbs of enlightenment, they constitute the 7 factors, conducive factors of enlightenment to attain Arhathood of Shravakas, as well as 7 conducive factors of enlightenment as well as Pratyeka Buddhahood, and then 7 factors of enlightenment that are conducive to attain the perfect enlightenment. That's the Samyak Sambuddha. So these are all limbs. These are all limbs to attain enlightenment. Limbs meaning they are conducive, they are companion, they are necessary factors, just like limbs are for a person to fit. And so the limbs is therefore here you use as a contributing positive factors. Like limbs for your body is your legs, limbs for your body is your hands, and then you will say you are a four-limbed person. If you don't have the limbs, you are a crippled person. You could not gain enlightenment if you don't have this. Up till now, you have certain degree of mindfulness, certain degree of those things, but they only to reach as far as the path of preparation, which is not enlightenment, which is the eve of enlightenment, yeah, which is the best progress that mundane person can develop, but itself it still do not constitute actual enlightenment. And so these seven, there are seven of these which constitute the limbs. So we have these seven factors of enlightenment. So we're going to go over what the seven are and what are the roles, distinctive roles or qualities they each endow or possess, so that way we be able to understand their characteristics. First is the mindfulness. We have seen the word mindfulness quite a seven. This mindfulness occurs almost like 7 times, in every group of the factors of enlightenment. Mindfulness occurs, but this is the this mindfulness is the mindfulness that is a limb of enlightenment. So when we look at the mindfulness, in this case, the mindfulness of remembering all the previous 22 factors conducive to enlightenment, you don't even have to speak about them. Of course, this mindfulness constitute all the former 22 conducive factors of enlightenment to get you as far as you have got. And here, this particular mindfulness constitute not forgetting any of those 22 factors of enlightenment, 22 factors of the mundane level of enlightenment, such as being able to stay very present and very fond in solitude. For instance, one not only sings in praise of solitude, but one actually sees the virtue of the solitude and being quiet, and never. So the one who has reached this, the limb of enlightenment, mindfulness, never feels lonely. This is the one thing, because he praises, he longs for solitude. When he never feels lonely. So he does not forget the virtue of solitude, during which his mind is best served or best conditioned to be in that sense of silence, or not having demand from anyone, anything but it becomes very conducive to remember all the 22 factors of enlightenment, because of his mind has the solitude of forgetfulness. Yeah, there is no forgetfulness present. Because mindfulness is the remedy to forgetfulness. Because forgetfulness is completely absent. That is the solitude. So because of that, it's almost like one reaches the state of quality, of bliss of mindfulness that completely has rescinded any sign of the forgetfulness. Forgetting. There's no one has no danger of forgetting the danger of desire, ill will, attachment, and activities, company, food, clothed, enjoyment. One has totally mindfulness to have the solitude of the mind that is deprived of any of the above. So here we're talking about a state of enlightening experience that itself is mindfulness, that completely takes away the normal sense of the problem that comes with of the forgetfulness. So there's incredible fitness of the mindfulness. When they say mindfulness is blissful, when is mindfulness blissful? When you forget all the antithesis, when your mind is completely at peace in solitude. It is the right, most appropriate and conducive environment where the wisdom and all the other 6 factors of enlightenment can best cultivate. Because mindfulness holds all together. Remember, mindfulness is the foundation. Now the whole enlightenment is now firmly grounded on the limb of foundation. Limb of foundation to realize calm abiding, limb of foundation to realize special insight, limb of foundation of realize union of both of these two. Later on we will distinguish which of the 7 factors belong to calm abiding, which of the 7 factors belong to special insight, and so on. So that's how it sort of divides the limbs. What is the limb belonging to? So there is amazing unforgetfulness. Amazing unforgetfulness. There's incredible ability to remember the qualities of the Buddha, qualities of the Dharma, qualities of the Sangha, not to mention quality of all the other virtues of a practitioner, and so because of that when we say perfect mindfulness, this is perfect mindfulness, perfect mindfulness. Samyak anusmriti, they call it. Samyak anusmriti means perfect in kind of a mindfulness. There is no fault in that mindfulness because it avoids, it gets rid of all the faults. And then it makes, therefore, good. It provides a foundation. It is a limb. As a foundation, limb of foundation for all the other 6 factors of enlightenment, 7 factors, 7 limbs of enlightenment, 7 limbs of enlightenment to continue. Yeah. And the second is the limb of diligence, limb of joyous effort. Yeah, limb of joyous effort. This limb of joyous effort is that we had joyous effort before. Remember the first four renunciation or 4 right effort we talked about. Here this is the culmination of all the right effort, to promote quality from higher to higher to higher to highest. And so that it is able to obtain the higher to higher, highest to higher to highest qualities, that it does not obscure any of the qualities that are within the reach of oneself. So any kind of obstacles from gross to subtle and subtle to subtler will all be diligently observed and being able to remove those obscurations. Because you are able to promote joyfully, because the one aspect of that in this particular case about diligence is that it has a great effort in you that promotes your qualities insofar as increasing your capacity to remove the subtle and subtler and subtlest kind of obstacles that need to be removed. Yeah, and that you need to remove. So your effort becomes even more ingeniously geared to remove even subtle to subtler and subtlest kind of obscurations. You remember when we talk about that four renunciation or four right effort, it's all talking about abandoning faults and developing qualities. And so here now it's kind of culmination of all of that right effort to be able to reach higher and higher than the highest qualities, and removing the subtle obscurations. So delighted, joyfully, by the right effort is therefore increasing one's effort in succeeding to remove the subtle obscuration. A third limb is limb of joyfulness. The joyfulness is this is not sensorial joyfulness. This is not joyfulness of seeing or hearing or smelling or tasting, touch. This is joyfulness of glimpsing the sight of emptiness. The joy of realizing emptiness is indescribable. The nature of the reality as it is. Joy of realizing that even the first bhumi is named after joyous, So the joyfulness has to be a limb of enlightenment, because it is enabling you to discern clearly the meaning of ultimate reality, including its characteristic of selflessness of person and selflessness of phenomena. Both of these, physically, one sees the emptiness in the self, emptiness in the body, emptiness in the feeling, emptiness of the feeling, emptiness by the feeling. All of those four sections of self-misunderstanding as the having a possession of any feelings or of the feelings or is the feeling, all of that one can see the emptiness of the self, emptiness of the phenomena. So the joy, this is the joy that comes from that. You might have joy from seeing Buddha's qualities or having refuge, and joy that someone is kind to you, or joy that you practice on time. These sort of things are kind of ordinary joys, They comes and goes, This joy of seeing and glimpsing the nature of reality as it is, of selflessness of the person, that's the insight. We're talking about vipassana here. Because now you are seeing, you're looking with the eye of sight, with the joy of seeing the truth, which both completely blesses your body and mind in a way that is indescribable. Physically, probably bliss. If you translate joy, it will be physically bliss. And it will be therefore talk about later on when we talk about the fourth limb is limb of pliancy. No wonder you have this pliancy. The pliancy is usually physical pliancy of bliss, weightlessness, and lack of sickness, and so on, because sickness comes from your attachment to the body as me or mine. When you no longer have the attachment to body as me or mine, therefore there is a physical pliancy. The pliancy is kind of a rapturous kind of a experience that the limb of joyfulness, and limb of pliancy are, you do not know what the demarcation between the two. Not only is it physically blissful, but your senses are very, very clear. You can see the emptiness of what you see. You can see the emptiness of what you hear. It's so therefore there's incredible pliancy in seeing the emptiness of sight, emptiness of smell, emptiness of sound. Whether it's praise or disparagement, no discrimination. All sounds are empty. So your mind is able to experience the incredible pliancy. This is this rapture that the body is completely saturated. Even fire touches you, doesn't burn you, but you only feel bliss. So there is no external elemental affect to your body when you have reached this sense of the conducive limb of joyfulness and pliancy. The pliancy makes your body serviceable. So then you don't feel crippled, you don't feel blind. Even if you were physically blind until then, as a practitioner, you will see far distance, you will hear far. You won't have any kind of disability that is to do with your impaired sense organs, because your body becomes serviceable like no other, and your mind becomes serviceable like nothing before. There is no object that is negative or harmful to the one who has reached this level of physical and mental pliancy, because their body is not a gross, contaminated by eye and mind grasping. There's no phenomena that to which one has thing is mind grasping. Because of that, it doesn't have suffering from losing things. It doesn't have any of those. So the objects don't have any inducing of sorrow or problem from their own side because of your serviceability, pliancy of your mind and the body, limb of pliancy. Yeah. And this limb of pliancy is related with the limb of meditative concentration. Meditative concentration meaning the mind is so fixed as attentive focus on the nature of phenomena as it is. And there is no time that is not sitting there. It is inseparably one with the object and the subject. It's one-pointed concentration. So we are talking about true ekagrata, one-pointed meditative concentration, limb of meditative concentration. Sixth one. Fifth one, yeah. And sixth one is a limb of equanimity. This equanimity is whereby the limb of equanimity is that there is no discouragement, no fear, no anxiety, no timidity, and no wildness, no agitation, no haughtiness. All of them has become completely leveled. Leveled meaning they are completely planed. There's no roughness of attachment to some, aversion to another. And all of the affliction has become completely leveled, basically become squashed. And absence of gross afflictions. They talk about 118 gross afflictions become abandoned when you reach the first bhumi. You can see why. Because if you don't have equanimity, you can't quash any of them, let alone 180. And then the last one is the wisdom, the limb of the wisdom, the discriminating awareness. Now these seven limbs, these seven limbs are likened in the Abhisamaya Alankara. This is not in this text what I'm referring to, but in the Abhisamaya Alankara, these seven limbs of enlightenment are analogously explained as the seven attributes of a universal monarch. Yeah. When we offer mandala offering, we offer those seven. And usually the seven attributes of a universal monarch are considered to be perfect factors of a perfect monarch, perfect universal kind of monarch. So when you become enlightened, of course, then you have all these seven qualities. Or when you have all these seven qualities, you have all these perfect factors. For instance, among the seven factors, so when you have the universal monarch, the universal monarch is usually one who is indomitable, who has no rival, or who has no actual people who can fight against him, because he has destroyed all the enemies. So it likens in the Abhisamaya Alankara, when Asanga, he likens the mindfulness is the one that conquers all the hordes of enemies of forgetfulness. Yeah. Mindfulness destroys all the armies that otherwise depletes your mindfulness. So you conquer all the forgetfulness and distraction. So that's the universal monarch, has no enemy. Yeah. Likewise, person who has achieved the limb of mindfulness has no enemy, particularly afflictions. So this analogy is very important elucidator of the teachings. And the universal monarch always have a very incredible elephant. The elephant is symbolize the discriminating awareness, wisdom. The elephant is so powerful, so strong, that it can carry any weight. Likewise, one who has the discriminating awareness that came out of the mindfulness, out of the mindfulness, because mindfulness got no enemies of forgetfulness. So when you have no enemy, you of course are matchless. So the elephant is beautifully decorated, it got 6 stars, it's covered in jewelries, it walks in a very elegant fashion as it has no one there to harm him. Not that anything can harm them, it's completely indomitable, So one who has the robust understanding of the emptiness nature of things, that's the limb of discriminating awareness, then it's just like the perfect, elegant elephant in the royal kind of a procession, which becomes the most important characteristic of a universal monarch. So if you have any sign of realizing limb of discriminating awareness, you will have this kind of a strength. Strength like that of elephant. You feel formidable. You are formidable and indomitable because you are so beautiful with the discriminating awareness as a wisdom. And then the third is the right effort, a right effort. Right effort is symbolized the precious horse, the amazing horse. The horse is regarded as one that is amazing, indispensable part of the royal entourage to take the king speedily wherever he needs to go to places, transports him speedily and easily and quickly and joyfully and elegantly, like the jet. You hop into the jet fresh and you arrive safe. So when you have the right effort, limb of right effort, it's like you have this incredible fitness and smartness with which you will start the journey, you travel the journey, you reach the journey like a good mount. So think of the precious horse, not something to ride on, but right effort that you should have that is better than horse. Better than Melbourne Cup winning horse, we're not talking Melbourne Cup winning horse here, We're talking about limb of joyfulness. It's the limb of right effort, right effort, Right effort. You're very diligent to start Your diligence is not at just the start and then sort of plateaus and then drops. It's not that kind of diligence. Diligence is not only very inspiring and motivating at the beginning, and also in the peak, and even towards the end, hasn't got a sign of any sense of tiredness and weariness and so on. That's like the excellent, precious horse. It is not sweating, it is not tired, it is not like that. Those magical horse. It can go around the universe in 24 hours, but still it doesn't show any sign of tiredness. So the bodhisattvas who have reached the first and higher bhumis have this incredible ability to transport and very stranded sentient beings from one end to another without showing any weariness. This is the symbol of right effort, like a fit royal horse. And the next one is the limb of joyfulness. Limb of joyfulness is, we were talking about joy in realizing emptiness, yeah? Joy in realizing emptiness. So here, the joy of realizing emptiness benefits your mind and body, remember we talked about. Here, that is represented by precious gem. Precious gem is one of the 7 attributes of a universal monarch, and the precious gem benefits and fulfill all the wishes the king and subject make prayer, then it will become fulfilled. So, likewise, for a practitioner who has glimpsed the emptiness of self and phenomena, they will have incredible joyfulness, incredible joyfulness that only gem-like possession can give you, incredible joy. The gem, even to you and our level of having joy in Dharma is pretty gemmy, really. It's not the kind of ordinary things, you become gratified having that, or having a nice house, or doing those joys are not, only joyful a couple of hours, and after that it becomes another headache. So, joy of realizing emptiness and is truly a gem, truly a gem. Because it benefits your body, you probably will have less. Once you reach the first bhumi, your body does not suffer from illnesses, and even if you have, they were completely healed. So your body will not be subjected to the illness. So if you really, really have the realization of bodhicitta and emptiness, none of your sickness should worry you. All the sickness could be completely disappear. Because it's pliancy of the joyfulness of the body and the mind. Remember, both body and mind become so much filled with joyfulness. Yeah, talking about pliancy, the limb of pliancy is illustrated by precious queen. Because a queen gives bliss, and bliss because of her incredible motherly qualities, no jealousy, very equanimous, very gentle, very mature, and she is source of happiness and pleasure for everyone. And likewise, if you have the pliancy of your physical pliancy and mental pliancy, then your pliancy is absence of affliction, remember? When your pliancy is intimidated by afflictions, then you have no pliancy, you have sorrow. Your sorrow comes from afflictions. Your pliancy comes from lack of affliction. Queen has no afflictions of selfishness. She's completely selfless mother. Niratmya, selfless mother, we call it. The queen is symbol of selflessness, of one who forgets herself, one only think of others. She's completely blissful, being at the service and benefit of the others. If queen is not selfless, she's not a queen. she's only got jewelries. She only got a crown. She keeps the crown for herself. It's not a real queen, you know. Queen selflessly who gives everything to others, who gives everything for the sake of others, like some mothers do in homes. You know, if you look at it, the mothers are mothers because she's the most exemplary, selfless person in the household. Even though it may be a small family of 6, but everybody sees how, when it comes to her, she is the one who does everything selfless, like no other. Incredible image the Buddhism gives the precious queen. The kind mother, the kind mother. His Holiness Dalai Lama says he has been taught kindness not by the text, not by the books, but by his mother. So here, the precious queen that features very much in Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhist, 37 heaps of, when we talk of 37 factors in enlightenment, we have 37 heaps of mandala offering as well. Let's not talk about that right now. Then it will take us to a completely different direction. That'll really make you to take up your mandala offering a bit more seriously then. Then just a couple of rings of metal sitting there with a pile of rice that you hardly use. That's not mandala offering, okay? No matter how simple your implements are, but you are really doing the practices with a lot of joyous effort, with a lot of selflessness, and so on. So, queen gives bliss as pliancy with pliancy and selflessness. So, likewise, one who has pliancy, physical pliancy, mental pliancy, they don't suffer affliction. They don't do affliction. Pliancy doesn't mean that you had some kind of a psychedelic experiences by tasting something or touching something. Not like that. Your absence of affliction gives you this pliancy. You know? In samadhi, people do experience the pliancy. Lightness, they don't have craving for food. They don't long for companion. They don't have enmity to anyone. It's incredible leveling, totally absent of these afflictive emotions, pliancy. The queen is always like that. Actually, I've seen some queens, incredible. Quite a lot of mothers, incredible. You look at that woman in the house, she is the pillar of that home. And you will see that in every community. There's someone is more queen-like, others are completely opposite, jealous, competitive, upset again, crook again. Queen is just like, she's got no self left. She's beyond that. So people who have experienced, the pliancy, limb of enlightenment, of pliancy, definitely have those qualities. And then limb of meditation, meditative concentration, is the precious general. Precious general is considered to be someone who is so good at fighting and he's formidable. And nobody can defeat him because of his preciousness as general skill. So is someone who has obtained the limb of meditative concentration. When you come abiding, or especially inside, or combined, are so one-pointed concentration, it's like a precious general. So elegant, so undefeatable. Because you have no obscuration of knowledge. Because you know from your meditation, it's meditation-derived emptiness realization, not conceptually derived meditative on emptiness. meditation-derived realization of emptiness is the real formidable general. And that leaves us the equanimity, the limb of equanimity. Limb of equanimity equanimity means you discard all mental conceptions. Your mind is completely absence of doing mental conceptions. It is totally tranquilizing of the mind through your meditative equanimity. And that is precious minister. Precious minister administers and fulfills the commands, wishes, and orders of the king. Likewise, one whose meditative equanimity is so good that all discarding of the mental conceptions has taken place. So that's why these 7 limbs of enlightenment are analogously taught as the 7 attributes of universal monarch. Now you can attribute that mainly to the in Indian Panditas, kind of you could say versatile way of explaining the richness of the meaning of the 7 limbs of enlightenment. But in these classical texts I'm reading, translating from, that doesn't actually mention that. So let's go back to the text. In the text, these 7 limbs of enlightenment are divided into 5 limbs. These are limb that is support-like, limb that is by nature. The nature itself is what's the intrinsic nature of the limb. Limb that is a renunciation limb, limb that is praiseworthy, limb that is devoid of any afflictive obscuration. So there are 5. These 7 limbs are divided into these 5 particular limbs, 5 particular links or limbs. Yeah, links or limbs, both. It says the limb of mindfulness is the limb of the support or limb of foundation, which I was already saying. The mindfulness is the foundation of all the 37 factors, and particularly of the 7 limbs itself. So out of all the 7 limbs, limb of mindfulness is the link of support. Why? Due to the power of the mindfulness, whatever mind is focusing as an object, it does not swerve, it does not distract or drift to anywhere. It stays very much focused on that. So therefore, mindfulness is the support that keeps fix your attention without any likelihood of distractibility. That's why I call limb of support. So limb of mindfulness is limb of support. And then the limb of discriminating awareness or wisdom is the intrinsic nature limb of intrinsic nature. The intrinsic nature of the 7 limbs is the wisdom discerning emptiness as it is. Why? It is the intrinsic nature of the limb is the wisdom. Of all the limbs, intrinsic nature is the discriminating awareness, the wisdom. Because then all the conducive factors of enlightenment have a generic and specific wisdom discerning nature. And the discriminating awareness is the overall discerning nature of all the 737 factors. So therefore, limb of discriminating awareness or wisdom is the intrinsic nature limb or link. And then the limb of diligence is the limb of renunciation. Limb of renunciation. Why? Because when you talk about limb of renunciation, the limb of right effort or joyous effort always renounce the opposite of what it shouldn't be doing. So by the power of diligence, it is able to rescind its appropriate obstacles. It is able to abandon. It is able to totally eradicate the opposite, and beyond that, it does not have any other task. Its task is to completely abandon the obstacles. So therefore, it's a limb of renunciation. See, therefore, if you need renunciation, if you want to renounce something, you need diligence. Even here, of course, as we're talking about limb of enlightenment. So if people aren't dropping off, giving up things, that's the problem. So they have to give up ill will. They have to give up resentment. Unless they still want to nurture their storyline, and they think this and that, they will never be free from diligence. They won't have diligence. They will completely lazily thinking this, and they will not be able to abandon laziness. So that's the first three limbs. And then the limb of enlightenment of joyfulness is praiseworthy limb or link. Because once you experience the joyfulness, it elates you, it delights you, it makes you able to sing praises. It makes you see good only, and therefore you have very well-spoken mouth, because you're able to, it gives you the limb to speak praiseworthily or praising generously towards others. And some people are amazing. They hardly say anything negative to or behind or against anybody. Incredible limb. I mean, if you're practicing Dharma, it should be some of your characteristic. Instead of judging someone, throwing stones at them, behind them, these kind of miserable people. It shows they have no taste, no flavor of the Dharma have touched them. They may be doing lots of Dharma-looking activities, but they still are completely rough and beaten up by the lack of that. Person who has joyfulness doesn't say any disparaging, disconcerting, critical, negative things about anyone. Why? Because he's completely joyously, absent of soliciting such thoughts about anything. They instead see very many qualities of others. They can still see good in others. Why? Because he has reached that kind of limb of joyfulness. So therefore it's called limb of praiseworthiness. Not only himself praiseworthy, but he himself is actually able to still praise to others. He does not entertain in judgment. He does not entertain judgment or competitiveness or arrogance. He just sees still good in everyone, and therefore his mind is always praising his mind towards the others, whatever the qualities his mind is generously able to predispose. See, that's a limb. That's a limb you need. If you don't have that arm, you are crippled. So as an enlightened being on the first bhumi or higher, they have this limb of joyfulness. Because they see good in everything. They see Buddha nature in everyone. They see generosity in everyone. They see humility in others. They see many things others just completely ignore, because they can see. They have the sight. They have the eye that can actually see because of their joyfulness. It's the miserable people say miserable things. It's the joyful people say praiseworthy things. It's not about the object. It's the one who's doing the talking. So here we're talking about enlightened ones who he's enjoying the limb of enlightened limb of joyfulness is praiseworthy. Like Buddha is always praiseworthy. so many thousand years ago, is still praised about. His statues are proliferating like no other thing. You wouldn't believe how many factories are making thousands of statues in the middle of a communist country. Some of the biggest statue factories in the world are in China, I'm told, I tell you. Not to mention everywhere else. For some reason, those little figures of the Buddhas are bringing joy and hope and various things because of the embodiment of joy that Dharma gives. Yeah, we're talking about limb of joyfulness is a limb of praiseworthiness. And then the remaining three limbs are belonging to the fifth limb, which is called limb of destroying all afflictions. Limb of destroying all affliction, and there are the equanimity, meditation, that's enough, isn't it? And pliancy, Payang is the text. Pliancy, meditation, and equanimity. These three are all limb that destroys all the afflictions. Wow! Because all these three destroys the affliction by remedying through pliancy, meditative concentration, and equanimity. All the afflictions are destroyed. If you have, for instance, equanimity, the afflictions of attachment to some, aversion to another, jealousy, all of this, you see the futility of it. So you will not entertain any affliction because you will just completely level the sameness, Equanimity means sameness, yeah? It doesn't look any different as sameness. Why? And that's how equanimity destroys affliction. How meditative concentration destroys affliction. It is meditative concentration that Buddha attained enlightenment, conquered the four maras. Even some small degree of victory that your life has experienced recent years, it's because you are doing some meditation. Your sadhana practices are enabling you to quash some of your enemies and afflictions. So therefore you should give credit to your sadhana, the practices. Don't look for huge, rosy kind of outcomes. Just see how much of your neurosis, much of your impatience or whatever, or at least duration of it. Maybe previously you stay crook for many months, but now you don't do more than a couple of hours. These things are because it destroys the duration of your affliction, even though you're not completely reached the first bhumi or other. But nevertheless, your behavior and your attitudes are destroying, are being nullified, are discouraged by the power of your meditative concentration. And then pliancy. Of course, your mind is so flexible. If you don't have flexibility, which is pliancy, your mind is stuck in the years, months, attitudes, perception, judgment. You're still stuck in that. You don't want to change your views. You're still stuck. You still think he's wrong with me. That's it. But one who has a pliancy is not troubled by that. He has completely changed his crooked view, dropped that, and therefore he has this great sense of serviceability to change his mind. So his afflictions are reduced, are destroyed, by the way. So when you don't have the affliction, then you don't have the support of suffering, let alone the support it. So that's why all these three, pliancy, meditative concentration, and limb of equanimity destroys all the affliction. So that doesn't mean the other four doesn't destroy affliction. Yeah, we're talking about specialty, how each of the seven limbs have special limbs in so far as playing role of support, playing role of the nature itself, playing role of the discard, playing role of praiseworthiness, and playing the role of actually destroying the affliction. And further explanation is that when you have lessened or destroyed the all afflictive emotions, then the all afflictive emotions are the subject of the problem. And now the subject of the problem has become nullified. So the nullification of the subject of the problem is therefore it's a limb of enlightenment. And then the pliancy as a limb of enlightenment is pliancy. Enlightenment is physically so pliant, mentally so pliant, it is not inducible by a negative object or negative phenomena or negative causes and conditions. Yeah. So because of that, you are so pliant that the dirt doesn't stick on you. Yeah. You're dirt proof. Pliancy means you are suffering proof. You're affliction proof. So you are so pliant that your enlightened state of mind is pliant in the sense no negative factors or object or friend or companion or conversation stick on you. You're affliction proof. So therefore, how each of the seven limbs of enlightenment concurrently destroys all the afflictions. For instance, when your mind and body are both very, very pliant, very, very serviceable, if when you are when you don't have the pliancy of the body and mind, your body exposed to something, you saw something, you heard something, you're completely disturbed by that. All of a sudden, you're disturbed when you heard something. So this is how vulnerable we are when we don't have physical pliancy. We hear something, and that totally got you. When you have physical pliancy, you hear that as emptiness. Sound is emptiness, they call it. So you do not get caught up in this drama. Your mind is so focused one-pointedly, it doesn't allow you to distract. Because your mind is very pliant, remember? When your mind is very pliant, you heard that and that's it. That's all there is. And you get completely soaked and observed and you're completely consumed by it. When the mind is distracted by objects that induce desire, that induce anger or competitiveness, that's why it's called you are subjected to bad objects. When your mind and body are subjected to bad objects, means you are vulnerable to bad objects. When you have mental and physical pliancy, you are not subjected to the bad objects or bad conditions. There are no such objects that are bad in itself when your mind is pliant, when your body is pliant. And when you don't have the pliancy, then bad objects become cause of afflictions. They condition you to arise afflictions, and you are full of the afflictions. When you are pliant, you are affliction proof, because you are bad object proof. Bad object proof, the affliction proof. So therefore, Xinjiang, in Tibetan word Xinjiang means raptured or refined state of mind. When your mind and body are very, very refined and rapturous and serviceable, it actually eliminates the bad in the object that is bad. It completely removes the toxicity in the object. Because you don't have affliction. Because you don't have the parent of the suffering, which is affliction, therefore the object does not, your object does not influence you negatively because you're not vulnerable to it. So the lack of affliction is support. Lack of affliction is support of limb of meditative concentration. Yeah, lack of meditative is the support of meditative concentration. When you have the no affliction, then your meditative concentration will be supported. Meditation is supported by mindfulness, and the mindfulness causes the meditation to occur because the mindfulness is the support, and supported is the meditative concentration itself. And that's why when both mind and body are serviceable or planned, and then mind is able to focus one-pointedly on the concentration meditation as it is supported by the foundation of mindfulness. So you can see these are now the interrelationship between the seven limbs, how one support each other, how they're all interdependent to each other. If you have the one-pointed meditative concentration and seeing things as it is by the virtue of the one-pointed concentration, then the affliction will not manifest in such environment. Affliction only manifests when your mind has lost the plot. So when your mind is one-pointedly seeing things as it is, then it doesn't do any afflictive emotions. Afflictive emotions are necessarily abandoned. Therefore, the meditative concentration is the foundation of keeping off the afflictions. When your meditation concentration is happening regularly, you are less likely to do afflictions. Because you are busy doing meditative concentration, and therefore meditative concentration is not a conducive place where afflictions develops. Where there's no dark and wet things, mosquito doesn't come. It's clean, so forth. So we're talking about conditions. And then this, and now we're talking about how to intersect each of the seven limbs into each other. Yeah, how one is the support, other becomes supported. The intrinsic nature of the lack of afflictive emotions is limb of equanimity. So, limb of equanimity by nature is absent of doing any afflictive emotions. So therefore, the nature of absence of afflictive emotion is limb of equanimity. Because limb of equanimity destroys affliction, and because it not only destroys afflictions, it is always conducive to the lack of afflictive emotions. Now, another way of classifying the seven limbs is, as I mentioned before, are in three. That is, which of these three are calm abiding? Which of the seven are calm abiding? Which of them are special insight? Which of them are both? So looking at how all the seven limbs of enlightenment, either jointly or separately, belongs to either calm abiding meditation or special insight or union of it. For instance, the limb of discriminating awareness, wisdom, and limb of diligence and joyfulness are necessarily belonging to special insight. Special insight. Whereas limb of limb of pliancy, limb of meditative concentration, and limb of equanimity are more leaning onto calm abiding meditation. So we're talking about which is more biased towards, biased towards, if we can use that words. And the limb of mindfulness is both. So limb of mindfulness goes to both calm abiding as well as special insight. So in this way, coming back to the five main topics of these 37 factors of enlightenment, which we discussed with everyone, that what is the objective of limb of enlightenment? What is the nature of enlightenment? What is the accompaniment of limb of enlightenment? What is the meditation and what is the result? So those are the five things under which we discuss. The objective of the 7 limbs of enlightenment is to see the Four Noble Truths and become the seer of the Four Noble Truths. So objective is, so this means why we call Four Noble Truths. Four Noble Truths is only seen by the seers of the truth, okay? We hear it, we talk about it, but it still goes over our head. It doesn't go through our head. It should burst our head. That would be good. So the objective of the 7 limbs of enlightenment is to see the Four Noble Truths and ennoble by that seeing. Because that's why I call vipassana. Vipassana is extraordinary seeing. Extraordinary seeing is the seeing the truth of the Four Truths. Until now, we think it's not really truth. It's bitter. It's bitter. It's bitter to think it's a truth, but it's very hard to swallow. Only the seers can see objectively the truth of the Four Noble Truths. So that's that. The nature of the 7 limbs of enlightenment is, the intrinsic nature of the 7 limbs of enlightenment is mindfulness, is discriminating awareness, is diligence, is joyfulness, and is pliancy, and equanimity. So all of those. The nature of 7 limbs of enlightenment, it doesn't include the meditation for some reason. Otherwise, all the 7 are by nature, the intrinsic nature of the 7 limbs of enlightenment are those 6. Accompaniment of the 7 limbs of enlightenment is that whoever has these 7 limbs of enlightenment, they will be accompanied by the appropriate conducive factors such as faith. They will never have doubt. And so on. So the mind will be completely accompanied by the wholesome characteristics. Like we were saying, there is no judgment. There is no enmity. It is filled with joyfulness, loving kindness, equanimity. All of this will be it's not something he leaves behind. He is always with that. That is his companion. And no wonder why Kunu Rinpoche says he doesn't need his God bodhicitta. Like say, when you have these factors, then you don't miss anything. You don't crave anything. You don't lose anything. You haven't forgotten anything. You haven't misplaced anything. You have everything with you. You are accompanied by all the seven limbs of enlightenment. What do you need? Nothing. So that's the accompaniment of the seven limbs of enlightenment, and the meditation is mainly the nature of the meditation of the seven limbs of enlightenment is primarily the meditation of the right mindfulness. The limb of right mindfulness is primarily the support of the meditation. So it's not even non-meditative state, you are always meditating. So because you're mindful. Even meditation is not meditated to meditate, but to be mindful and in and out of meditation. Even out of meditation, you're still as if you are in meditation because you're supported by the limb of enlightenment of mindfulness. And one is completely at peace wherever he is. Even noisy places, he's devoid of noise. He's in solitude, he's devoid of longing for anything. He's completely, his meditation thrives all places because he is devoid of craving or wanting or desire, any of that. Therefore, he has basically remained in the solitude of solitude. That is the meditation. So therefore, when they say, Buddha entered into meditation, he woke up from meditation, these are conventional stories. This is a conventional story. Is he ready to afternoon tea? Yes, he's ready for afternoon. This sort of thing. Buddhas don't have this, go through a long session and craving for tea. It's not like that. Buddha's always in that meditative state always, There's no distinction between in meditation, outside meditation. Because he's constantly in a meditative state on the Four Noble Truths. Truth of suffering, truth of origin, truth of cessation, truth of the path. He's constantly in that meditative state. And the result of meditation is abandonment of all the path of seeing's discards. All the discards of afflictions is now you no longer are subjected to those gross 116 or whatever level of result you have achieved. Means the one who has reached the seven limbs of enlightenment, which is really, we are talking about here, path of seeing. Path of seeing has now culminated. When you have reached the path of seeing, you have culminated, which is the result. Culmination means the peak of realization is abandonment of all the gross factors, all the path of seeing abandonable factors. So, of course, these are of course largely talking about the qualities, result of those who have reached the path of seeing, a level of enlightenment as Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, and of course Bodhisattvas. These are of course These are of course awe-inspiring for us to just even to think and listen about it. But they are kind of goals to aim to achieve by practicing the other conducive factors of enlightenment on the level everyone on the path of accumulation are practicing, as well as those on the path of preparations. But if you don't talk about result, you do not aim for it. So that's why delighting the devotee's mind by talking about the virtues of the fruits of enlightenment, qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and practitioners who endeavor and engage on the path of accumulation. It alone has these 12 factors of enlightenment goes through, and then how the path of preparation goes through 10 factors of enlightenment. Having realized how each of them are comparatively very inspiring factors or qualities that one achieves as a result of abandoning their antithesis. When one no longer is doing the four wrong views, of course, then you have the four close placement of mindfulness. Even you are not sitting meditation, because you accept suffering as a nature of existence. You don't complain and nag and carry on about it, because you have the close placement of mindfulness of seeing suffering as suffering. So most practitioners is not even on that level. They are completely incapable of accepting suffering and practicing kindness to suffering, sentient being with suffering. They almost don't want anyone with suffering, with the exception of themselves, of course. Themselves accept it all the time. Anybody with a problem, they don't want it. Because they haven't even realized the first right view, that all conditioned things are, afflicted things are unsatisfactory. They don't even have that comprehension. But those who have, on the lesser path of accumulation, conceptually, sometimes in good mood, yes, but you need to boost our merit and just to study and practice in order to have a support of mindfulness that actually can support the supported. We're not remembering the suffering is prevalent. We think suffering should be avoided. Suffering should be denied. Suffering should be escaped from. We don't think suffering should be embraced and understood. Buddha said suffering should be understood. He didn't say suffering should be abandoned. He said suffering should be understood and its cause should be abandoned. When we don't understand the result, we cannot stop the cause of it. When we understand the result, then we might be interested to stop the cause. Only stopping the cause stop the result, not other way around. Most sentient beings are blinded by not knowing what is the cause, what is the effect. Sufferings are effect of one's own ill will, greed, and the like afflictions. Sufferings is not a result of what other people do to us. Only the deluded people who don't have this the benefit of knowing the four seals of Dharma have the complete access to the four wrong conceptions. So when you have the right conceptions and comprehend the right conceptions and digest them and relish them, and then almost put that as the view of your life, that suffering is prevalent, and then accept that, not because you have suffering, but because you have understanding. When you understand suffering, you know sufferings are caused. And you will be therefore interested to how the suffering was caused, rather than aversion to the suffering. More interested in the causation of it. Most people don't know how to talk the cause. When they try to, they point the wrong cause as the correct cause. And they don't have a seeing. That is what they're doing. This is the tragedy of the blind. How can they see when they're blind? They have no eyes of the wisdom of discerning the truth, even the relative truth, let alone the ultimate. When we're talking about the cause and effect relationship, we're talking about the relative truth. When one begins to accept the prevalence of suffering, and one begin to know that all conditioned things are impermanent, even suffering and sentient beings who have suffering, who does suffering, are not permanent. Don't make them permanent by your fixated view. And that also we do. We stigmatize the person. He did this and that's it type of thing. And then we hold them with great kind of contempt ever since. See? There's no intention of changing the view. One is addicted to the wrong view, thinking it's correct view. So that's why it's very hard even to become a beginner's path of accumulation. If one's a beginner path of accumulation, one should at least have the comprehension of these 4 close placement of mindfulness. The support of all the 37 factors is the mindfulness, foundation of mindfulness, 4 foundation mindfulness. But when we begin to understand, comprehend, and then our behavior, our attitudes, and our understanding of Dharma improves, of course you can see we might be on the path of beginners, beginners intermediate, beginners advanced, and so on. Then you could see. You may consider yourself as a novice, but you can see the novice, but you don't do ill will for more than 2 days or whatever, and then after that you're just able to walk off by your virtue of your practice. You're not carrying on again and again all about that. After so many months, so many years, if you're doing that, you're not on the path. You might be reciting mantras and making malas shiny, but that's about it. One hasn't even entered the beginner's path of accumulation. But the beginner's path of accumulation, quickly confess, quickly purify, quickly do the dedication of merits and rejoicing and forgiving and confession. One does that regularly, and hence they keep themselves barely kind of on the path, not losing the faith, not losing their views, even though they are just merely conceptual. But still one keep coming back to Dharma. One is turning to Dharma again and again. And which is why Dharma is there, is a refuge. Why it's a refuge. Why is it a refuge? Because we are still exposing to dangers for quite a lot of time. Then quickly we realize and then again try to find Dharma. As if it is a place or something, So you can see why refuge and renewal of a bodhicitta through your formal practice, through study and meditation, whatever you combine them with your refuge, then you can see, you can rekindle yourself and not let yourself to be drifting off onto the drama of samsara. Then, when you say path of factors of conducive to path, so then the teachings is conducive. When you say everything is impermanent, it is conducive to you. It is such a delight to remember impermanence of all things. And you even also do some impermanent things. You also are changing your views, attitudes. You make them impermanent. People do tattoo to think they have changed. I don't know what the tattoo do to change it. They do tattoos to prove they have changed. Yes, the skin definitely changed. But I don't know how much deeper than the skin the person has actually changed. It's so cute how people do some tattoo and then they symbolize the change, so inspiring, really. They put a little om somewhere to symbolize that change. which is so cute, really, really inspiring. They definitely believe in change. They don't quite know how to change, but they think it's a small way, one syllable at a time type of thing. If the whole body is covered in syllables, then maybe very good. If one can change one's views, it's much better than skin color. We have so much addicted to wrong views. Incredible. They are not removable by tattoos. They are so impregnated. So you just have to completely soak our ears and mind to the Dharma. That you don't have any time for anything but the Dharma, and that should totally saturate your mind and almost lifts you up that you don't do those thoughts anymore because you're doing so much Dharma. Yeah, it's like that's exactly why we are in refuge in the Dharma. Why we have to renew the refuge. We need to renew refuge in the Dharma, not refuge to come the personal people, PR, Try to offer some gold to some teachers to make them happy. This is very Tibetan stuff. Always giving and giving and giving something to each other. Most of the time is spent on giving things to each other, not actually changing, not actually giving up bad thoughts, bad views. Why offer so much gold when you're keeping so much junk in your heart, in mind? So it's very important. The Dharma has to be used to change our very, very fixated views until you really hear them to hurt your pride. You haven't hurt the Dharma. It should hit to the bullseye. Until Dharma hits to the bullseye of ego, we are not likely to make up to change our views. That is the fixated view. So these 37 factors of enlightenment, of that we have now covered the 29 of them. And what remains is the eightfold path, which is the next topic for next week. So thank you very much, everyone. We will do the dedication merits. Om Bodh Gaya da deva menzaga om neza mehale berado bebrande ojana padare senede herenda Mahayana jeje Vadeva mereda havagra mehobe begas delavaza droda Mahayana jeje kareja manjeje nirvada azama tabadra delava valove odezama ashade dege odemere mede salam bodhijeda turba vedanayada vedha spembo medengre freele vedadi generation. Thank you, everyone.